All right, we're back in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We're on our world tour. We're flying through the Caribbean. We just passed Puerto Rico. We are now flying over an island called Viquez or something along those lines. What we're going to do is fly across this island here. And then there's kind of two rows of islands that continue on towards South America, eventually getting down to Trinidad and Tobago, and I guess that would be Venezuela. What we're going to do is kind of fly along the southern end of those. So that means for right now we're going to go to St. Croix instead of Charlotte Amalie and Road Town in the British Virgin Islands farther north. We'll catch those on the way back, but we're going to go to St. Croix next. And then we'll move over to like St. Kitts and Nevis, down to Montserrat, and on to Guadalupe, Dominica, and all those. But that's the plan for now. This is coming out on Monday, January 26th, I believe. And we'll know at this point if Nebraska was able to defeat Minnesota on Saturday when this episode comes out. I'm recording it on Friday night, January 23rd, so I don't know yet. And it will be one day before Nebraska goes on the road to play at top 5 Michigan. So we might already have one loss. There might be another loss coming, and then our next game is against another really good team in Illinois, but at least that one will be in Lincoln. We got the NFC and AFC championship games on Sunday, so those will be over by the time this episode comes out. We'll know who's going to be in the Super Bowl. My guess right now would probably be Seattle and New England, but I wouldn't be shocked to see the Rams win either. Of course, Denver, it's pretty tough without your quarterback. But anyway, today we're going to keep listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. We're going to listen to the Wednesday, January 21st episode. Please subscribe to this podcast because it's a great podcast. Goes over a lot of sports, goes over a lot of living in DC, but really it's mostly just about an old man complaining about stuff, and it's very entertaining. So please subscribe. But here we go with the Wednesday, January 21st episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show coming up next.
It's Tony. On today's show, we will talk to Kip Sheeman about the winter storm heading towards DC. We'll also talk to Michael Wilbon to see if he's recovered from the Bears loss yet. And we'll get picks from Chuck Todd and Reginald the Monkey. But first, let's do some commerce.
Avoiding your...
He begins to run the other way. He begins to run out of the stadium. And then somehow finds an open receiver in the left corner of the end zone. How can he be open? It's the easiest pass he's ever caught in his life. And you just say to yourself, wow. It's a wow.
Did you see the cornerback's reaction right afterwards? Immediately started pointing fingers at everybody. Yes.
What, you pointing at somebody else?
It was you.
It was you.
That was your man.
You're supposed to be covering him.
This is General George Washington, and you're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
And of course, we will reprise that later in the day with Michael Wilbon, but we begin the show today with the great Kevin Sheehan. Normally, year after year after year, around December 1st, we have a winter prediction from Kevin, and we did not do this year. I have no idea why, but we didn't. These things happen, and suddenly it's the middle to the end of January, and I get a call last night from Kevin, and he says, it's coming. Big one is coming. You ought to put me on the show. And I said, of course we'll do that. When people ask me, what is your show about? I say, it's about weather in Washington, D.C. That's really all it's about. That's what distinguishes it from good shows. That's what we do, weather in Washington, D.C. For those of you who are not keeping up, we have had 2 snowstorms in Washington, D.C. I hesitate to use the word storm. We've had 2 experiences of snow.
Incidents.
2 to 3 inches in one, 1 to 2 inches in the other. Nothing that was difficult to deal with, and always followed by weather within 72 hours that was warm enough that it essentially disappeared. We've also had spotty little snow showers that close golf courses because snow accumulates on the green, but they really amount to nothing. So this one seems to be a big one. I was under the impression, Kevin, that in a La Nina year, it's too warm to snow.
Look at you.
Well, that's what I read. It's too warm to snow. So why don't you tell us how much are we getting When are we getting it? How much play is there into how much we are getting? And if it comes, when, if ever, will it melt? Go.
First of all, Kip Sheeman, reporting for duty.
Okay.
Secondly,
NBA scores.
We haven't done the December winter weather forecast in about 6 years.
No.
And apparently,
No.
It's been 5 years.
Really?
Right, Nigel?
That's been a few.
What did you do with all the sponsorships you had sold? What did
My
you
God, Tostitos calls me every year to win it again.
Okay.
And I told him that Tony wanted to can it 4 or 5 years ago.
Only because you have 2 other jobs and I don't want to impose upon you.
That was never the issue, as you know. I think we all kind of felt it ran its course. But look at you with La Nina and El Nino and the whole thing. Here's what we got. We got a big one coming.
Okay.
A really big one and a cold one. But that doesn't mean that it'll be all snow. And the latest model runs from overnight do push that sleet freezing rain line, over us at some point during the storm, which could cut down on totals. But I'll give you the range right now. 3 inches to 24 inches.
What? It's ridiculous. What do you mean?
That's a
3 to
That's
20.
what it is. That's what it is. We're still 4 days out. We're 4 days out. It's impossible. They can't predict. Tomorrow, it'll be hard for them to predict today's weather, let alone what's coming in 4 days.
Right.
So, and they all base their predictions and their forecasts off of like these 4 or 5 models. It's all computer generated now, and they change every 6 to 12 hours. But the one thing that's been consistent in all seriousness is that this is going to be a massive storm that impacts Texas through, perhaps New England. We don't get these very often, and the cold air is really in place. And Tony, we're not playing golf in these parts for a long time.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, because there is a certain unanimity of people saying that next week will be the coldest week we've had, and it doesn't look like melting would occur until March, right?
Yeah, I mean, the long-term forecasts, which are not very reliable,
Right.
certainly indicate that we're going to be cold for a while. Remember last winter, we got like 6 or 7 inches, and it just stayed on the ground for like 35, 40 days.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're looking at. We're looking at essentially a long rest of the winter. And this won't be the only, opportunity for a big storm. There are others down the road that, look possible. Like the actual setup is good for a real period of winter, which we had last winter, but, we went basically 4 or 5 years without winter. And that's the thing around here. We can be warm and we can be mild, or we can be brutally cold, and it's going to be that for the next month or so. But this storm, there is a big range, but I would guess that we're going to get no less than 6 inches minimum. And then that would be with ice on top of that at the end. But I think there's a chance it's a foot or more.
Really? So
Yeah.
I, as you know, we've talked about this. I read the Capital Weather Gang all the time.
Yeah, me too.
I
They do a
read
great
them
job.
obsessively. And
Colleagues.
Yeah, and at the end, the last line in most of what they say is confidence level, and often it's low. Often it's low, that they're not confident in this. They give you examples of what the modeling systems are saying, and they are often widely divergent. Are they widely divergent in this one?
Let me tell you something about the Capital Weather Gang. They do a phenomenal job. But, Tony, they'd be at the bottom of the league in going for 4th downs. They would be at the bottom of the league going for 2. They are so conservative. They do this with every storm. And it's smart, because you really don't know for sure 4 days out. But I personally, I mean, they don't need me to help them, but I'd be talking up the snow. People like, predictions of doom much more than I don't know. Or like Kip used to say, let's let it play out. I think that they know that there's a chance that this could be massive, But the possibility that they could look really bad if they went out on a limb is still there, although it's becoming more remote by the day.
I don't mind when they say they're wrong. I like when people are accountable when they're wrong and when they're right. That doesn't bother me at all. When is the... And you like fear casting.
Yeah.
You enjoy that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
This is sounding like the blizzard of '96.
Could it be like, that was the one that stuck around till April.
Yeah.
Shut school down for a week.
Yeah, Snowmageddon 15 years ago.
April.
Yeah.
There was, when we were doing the show on, what is that, Rockville Pike? And there was a shopping center across the way where they just stacked up the snow. It didn't melt till May. They had a tower of snow that did not melt till May. Now, the rest of the area was fine, but that tower stayed there. When is the earliest you believe this will start?
The earliest would be the late Saturday afternoon, Saturday evenings, but it looks like a late Saturday night, midnight or later Sunday morning start. And then, this is going to be different than 96 or the 2009, 2010, winter storms, or even 2016.
I don't remember this. I'm on
2016, you remember? In 2010, I was with you the entire time as you were fretting in the corner about, whether or not the Sheehan boys would actually be able to show up and shovel you out. Yeah. They're not available, by the way. They're in Nashville, New York, and L.A., so that's not going to happen.
No, we'll get pineapple. We'll get pineapple today.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But this is not going to be a true nor'easter where the low develops off the coast and rides up the coast, and we get the wind and we get the near blizzard conditions or actual blizzard conditions. There's not going to be a lot of wind with this one, and because of that, we won't get what we love to refer to as the wraparound effect when the storm goes by our latitude. But this is more of a big overrunning event where it's just Pacific, Gulf moisture, and it will tap the Atlantic a little bit, but it's not going to wind up and be one of these, 40-mile-an-hour wind blizzards. It's just going to be a longer duration, moderate to heavy snow event. And then the big concerns are, will it get suppressed, meaning pushed to the south, where we get the lighter amounts of snow and places like Richmond get buried, or is it going to come too far north where we get into mixing issues? And that's the latest run of models overnight that suggests that we might actually get into some mixing even in D.C., or are we the bullseye where the heaviest snow
that's what I want to
ask with no mixing?
That's what I want to ask. If not us, if we are not the center of it, if we are not going to get the highest accumulations, where would that happen? Binghamton? I always root for Binghamton.
Well, again, if it moves further to the north and we get into the mixing issues, then Philly and New York and New England, get buried with the heaviest snow. If it's suppressed to the south, it's more like Richmond and the Carolinas. But there's a chance that we're the bullseye, we're the jackpot.
Yeah.
And to fear cast on that's a foot to 2 feet.
Oh my, 2 feet.
Yeah.
Well, you can't.
Is that what the NAM is saying, or the Euro?
There are models that are spitting out 18 to 24. Yes. The Weather Channel, by the way, they name their storms, and this one has a beautiful name, Fern. Fern, they're predicting this morning will drop 2 to 3 feet over our area. They're the opposite of the Capital Weather Day.
They're ready to go. They're going on 4th and 13.
They know it rains.
From their own 20.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Is that, they're honestly saying that much?
Yeah, this morning's maps had 2 to 3 feet over us.
Has Cantori been sighted anywhere in the area?
Cantori might be coming here. I think D.C. is his intended visit end of the weekend. So it's good to have him in town.
Oh, boy. All right.
So how are you doing with this? Are you going to be okay?
No, I'm not good. I'm not good.
Are you going to go to Rehoboth?
I'm not. I can't. You can't drive. Can't go anywhere. No. I'm just going to sit in my house and eat chicken. and cook a lot of chicken. I eat chicken for 2 weeks.
How about baking some gluten-free cookies?
I don't like gluten-free anything. I'm not.
Yeah, okay.
Gluten's okay. All right. Thank you, Kevin.
By the way, the winter weather forecast had this particular date for a major storm.
Yes, it did.
Too bad. I could have told you that on December 8th. All right, love you guys.
Best. Kevin Sheehan, the best. Kip Sheeman. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We'll take a break. Michael Wilbon will join us when we return. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I had that. This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
Here's our friend Don Stewart. He sends us music all the time. He writes, here are 2 songs I wrote for my new album entitled Don Stewart Volume 53. This one is called Same Feet. He writes, I hate my phone and I hate Bluetooth and I hate Wi-Fi. When I say Wi-Fi, I'm thinking why try, because I know all this technical stuff isn't going to work very long and everything will have to be replaced. After my phone was upgraded, little strange squiggly symbols started appearing and began to ask me questions about stuff I didn't understand. All I wanted to do was make a phone call. The next day I was writing a song on my computer at one end of the house and the TV came on at the other end of the house. How does that happen? Thank you for complaining about Apple phone upgrades because I've been cheering you on. This makes me feel very good. It makes me feel very good. Don Stewart plays in Michael Wilbon, who missed on Monday because he was traveling, and we have him on Wednesday, and we have a million football questions, but I think that the first question we have to ask and we have to talk about is the Hall of Fame inducted or elected Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones.
Good.
Yeah, tell me what you think that means.
I just think those 2 guys are deserving.
Beltran cheated.
See, Tony, because I don't cover baseball anymore.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of.
Well, he was on the Astros, and he was specifically named.
You mean that kind of cheated?
He was specifically named as a ringleader of it, and his quotes last night that I read indicated he didn't think he was going to get in. You know,
right.
but he got in. And Andrew Jones is a wonderful defensive center fielder.
Yeah.
And his offensive numbers, they're okay. They're fine. I don't know that they're Hall of Fame fine, but I'm just wondering what you like both those guys. You're good with it.
Yes, I like both of them going in. I don't care about the Astros cheating not one bit. Never have.
Well,
don't care.
So
it's like the Tom Brady football stuff. I don't care.
Well, yeah, so you might agree with me that this means that the other guys on that team, when they become eligible, like Altuve,
they're going straight in.
They're getting in.
Yes.
I don't know that Bregman will get in, but Altuve will get in.
I don't know that Bregman
may not have Hall of Fame numbers.
Credentials to get in.
Yeah, that's right.
But it ain't going to be some, stealing. No. That doesn't right. That doesn't meet the level to me. That's not steroids to me.
Yeah.
It's not at all. And there's probably going to be more cheating scandals, and I'm fine with it.
So we are somewhat similar in this. I'm not necessarily fine with it, but I think that the history of sports is replete with teams trying to take advantage of other teams and stealing signs and stuff like that. So it's not the same to me as steroids to me. But Andrew Jones, though, I'm just I know he's a great defensive center fielder. There are a lot of great defensive center fielders.
Yeah.
He had home runs, he had average, but I don't think that I think I read that after the age of 30, he really wasn't much offensively at all. But you'd put him in.
It's okay. I wouldn't crusade for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was, I know baseball is done differently than football, which I was a member of that body for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you actually sit there and debate it. You talk about the candidacy of each person. Baseball's not done that way. I don't have a problem with Andrew Jones. My initial reaction without seeing numbers yesterday was it's fine if he's in. I think it'll be close. I don't know what his ultimate numbers were. And I thought that Beltran would be in. I don't care about the Astros and cheating. It doesn't matter to me in the least. So I thought both those guys would and probably should get in.
Beltran's numbers are they speak for themselves.
Yes.
He has the numbers.
Yeah.
There's no problem. All right, let's move on. Let's get to the subject at hand, because even though it's 3 days later, it's still the Bears. What are your thoughts about the play, the Caleb Williams play? What are your thoughts about them ultimately losing the game? What are your thoughts about their entire season and the impact they had in the metropolis of Chicago?
Well, I'll take the last thing first, Tony. The impact they had. They galvanized the city in a way that you wouldn't think. You would think that we would Lincoln, Nebraska all fall.
especially once they did this 2 or 3 times. And it went right through, these last games, the 3 games with Green Bay in 6 weeks. Of course, one of those was a playoff game. But the other games, even the games that the Bears lost, particularly the San Francisco game, it was, first of all, it was very new. We don't know anything about offense. The Bears are measured in Chicago or by traditional Bears fans, and they're millions because it's the oldest franchise along with the Packers. It's measured by linebackers and running backs. That's the deal. So the rest of the world can talk about quarterbacks and 70% and 4,000 yards, and they can talk about that on Get Up and First Take. That's not what we talk about. So for the Bears to have a quarterback chosen first overall, and even though he's not perfect, he's got a ways to go. For him to have these games where there's like 8 or 10 highlight plays in one season that some great quarterbacks don't have in a lifetime. And Caleb Williams has these plays, and you have receivers and tight ends, and people who have started to look at the Bears differently. We have to look at them completely differently in Chicago. And then the magical nature of these games, these impossible games where they keep coming back and winning.
7 times.
People fell in love with the team.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. And fell in love with them. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't know what's going to happen next year. I mean, the Washington Commanders are a cautionary tale.
Yep.
And not the only cautionary tale. There's the NFL landscape is dotted with cautionary tales about a team that gets close once, and then it's a one-off. And we hope it's not that. But the game itself, once he threw that touchdown pass to Komet when he's sprinting one way and throwing another. There are people, it's interesting, you listen to people like Chris Collinsworth, and I went back because I was at the game. I couldn't hear the broadcast. And I listened to Chris Collinsworth say he'd never seen anything like it. Chris Collinsworth played the position of receiver with a couple of really good quarterbacks, Kenny Anderson at the beginning of his career, Boomer Esiason at later in it. And he said he'd never seen anything like it. He was insistent upon that. And then I've heard people talk about it subsequently. It was even though the Bears lost, I think it took the edge off us. That we think they should have won. That interception never should have happened. The Bears should have just taken a couple of short completions, kicked the field goal, won the game, and advanced on to Seattle this week. But that's not the way it went down. So, but we're not growling. When people are not angry, like we've been when our teams have lost in the past, in the playoffs. Double doink, I still am angry over double doink.
Right.
Which was the last Bears playoff game in Chicago in that stadium before the Packer game last week. Still angry. This isn't that. We're not angry.
Would you?
There's a hope that we rarely have about the Bears right now.
Would you, not you as Ben Johnson, would you have gone for 2 after the touchdown to try to win the game?
No, okay. I wouldn't have. No. And that was discussed in real time. As I told you yesterday, I'll shorten it. Sitting with, Richard Dent and Otis Wilson and guys who played in that place on that turf and won big games and won a championship. And one of them is the MVP of a Super Bowl, Richard Dent. And they, in real time, because it happened against the Packers just 2 weeks earlier, 1 week earlier, in real time, those guys are like, no, play for overtime. Because you play for overtime, they can't beat you if they have the ball first. With one score, they can't. So if you can stop them, you're going to get a chance to win the game. That's exactly how it played out against the Packers. And as soon as, the coin flip was made or whatever it was, they were saying the same thing. And they convinced me last week, and I certainly wasn't going to change my mind in a week. And it played out just that way. The Bears got the stop and the ball and should have won the game.
Okay, let's go to the other games, the games that are left. You have picked Seattle, I have picked the Rams for weeks now. I think I like your pick better at the moment. I think Seattle is a better squad at the moment, but they have a question at quarterback that the Rams don't have. You know what you get. Matthew Stafford has done this for too long for anybody to think he's not going to do it just the same way. That's not true of Sam Darnold. What do you think of that game?
Well, but I just watched Matthew Stafford complete like 50% of his passes.
Oh, he was sailing it in the snow. It was not going to snow in Seattle.
I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Seattle.
Right.
Seattle won't get that kind of snow, although you and I have seen covered games in Seattle with that kind of snow.
That's right.
But that's unlikely. But you know, I just saw it. I just saw a defense that is not real good at all play an entire game, whereas Matthew Stafford at one point was like 3 for 11 on third downs. So I'm not turning Matthew Stafford into Joe Montana. Not yet, even though he's got a ring, and he's probably the MVP. Of course you're right about Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sam Darnold has everything to prove. But I just think Seattle's team now, the injury to Charbonneau, is I pronouncing his name right? Charbonnet. The injury to him, I mean, he's a great changer back from Kenneth Walker. I don't know if Seattle, are they going to have enough offense? They can throw it. But, you know, Darnold's history is he'll give it to you a few times. And he can't do that. But I was impressed with the way Seattle played Los Angeles in the regular season. And I'm going to take Seattle at home in this game.
All right, what about the Broncos and the Patriots? The Broncos are walking in there with a second-string quarterback who he's not thrown a pass in 2 years.
Yeah, I just, it's hard to see it. I can't see Denver winning the game now. It's interesting to be informed by knowing that Stidham, who's going to be the quarterback for the Broncos, he was like the first person that Sean Payton called when he got the job.
Is that right?
Yeah, the first. Handpicked. Like, listen, I'm going to start this program. You know you're coming in as a backup. But he wanted somebody he knew in the building to whomever played quarterback, because they know they're going to have Bo Nix, could explain the offense, run it in practice, help install it, like help build the Broncos program. Does that mean he's ready to play for a spot in the Super Bowl? No, it doesn't. But maybe it means he's got one performance in him. I am certainly rooting for Denver. Not that I have anything against New England, nothing. I'm just going to root for Denver because of the circumstance. But look, I mean, Denver, New England's a heavy favorite. Heavy. I'm not talking about in Vegas. I'm talking about in my mind. So that game to me doesn't have any luster at all because of the circumstance. But you know, I'm going to be tuned in.
Yeah. All right, Indiana, Miami. You're son of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Indiana is a great story. You were playing footsie with Miami. You tried to tell me that Miami winning is a better story than Indiana. I mean, I'm on the other side of that. Miami acquitted themselves well. They proved they should be in the tournament. There's no question about that.
It's a one-possession game. It's a one-throw game.
Yeah. Well, but
the last pass, if the last pass goes over the defensive back, they win the game, Miami. That's why I was playing footsie with them, because I thought they could win the game.
So you don't...
I don't really care about how good a story it is. I've gotten used to that. I live next door to Indiana. I'm incredibly familiar with all of that, and it is a wonderful story. You're right, it's probably a better story. I don't care about that. I wanted to see the game we saw, and Miami went down to the wire with a pass to win it. And ruined the story.
They could have ruined it.
Yeah.
The other kid was great. Mendoza was great.
He's great.
He was great.
He's
I don't know if he's
Mendoza,
a pro. I don't know.
Well, it looks like he is. We don't know until we know.
Don't know.
You and I to reserve judgment on that, unlike others.
That's right.
Particularly the newest wave of people who want to make declarations about everybody the moment they win 3 games in college. But he looks like and sounds like, it looks like he's got the goods. And I don't know whether he can turn the Raiders around. The Raiders are terrible.
They are bad. And they do not have good ownership.
We don't know if they know what they're doing.
They don't have good ownership. They don't.
They don't.
No.
But Indiana, look, I'm intimately familiar with Indiana. I don't know what Northwestern's record is against Indiana in the last 25 years. In the last 15 games we've played, I think it's possible that Northwestern's 9-6 against Indiana in those games. And so now, and this hits home. this just hit close to home. Indiana, which had lost more games than any school in the history of Division I football, has been replaced in that distinction by Northwestern.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now because college football is so different that you can walk into a home and say, son, why would you play for Ohio State when we can pay you more? And you can play from the moment you walk on the campus. You can come to school early. You can come to college a semester early. You can leave high school today. Come and play now. You don't sit behind anybody. You're not the fifth running back at running back you, because there's no more running back you. There's no more linebacker you. There's money. We got a new stadium. We got coaches. Saddle it up. Let's go.
I agree with that. I agree. I think that it's a brand new landscape. I think what Indiana did, I'm not saying anyone else is going to do it, but it proves anyone else can do
possible.
it.
It's possible. And Tony, more likely, there are degrees of it which are possible. We don't know where it's coming from.
No.
We don't know where it's coming from next. What school has a sugar daddy or two or three? It's not just Texas A&M oil money. There's richer schools in Texas A&M. Who's going to do that and say, you know what? I like this kid, this quarterback from 2,000 miles away. Let's give him some money. That's what it takes.
That's different.
So the degrees of it are possible that we could see we could see 4 schools next year in the top 20 that we're not used to seeing there.
I agree. I don't know that we will, but yeah, we could.
I don't know that we will, but it's possible.
Yeah.
And again, like you, I'm not suggesting that team is going to win the national championship. I'm just saying that a couple of schools or more could make life miserable for the Blue Bloods in a way that we haven't seen.
It's all true. All right, I'll see you later.
All right, Tom.
Michael Wilbon, boys and girls. We'll take a break. We'll come back with Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd had a tough week. James Carville had a tough week. Chuck Todd had a tough week. We'll have Chuck when we return, and Reginald. Of course, I'm Tony Kornheiser.
There's a new app where you can just know it. To the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Once again, this is Don Stewart. These are from his latest release, Don Stewart Volume 53. This is called Whisper. He's played songs for us for years.
Yes, he has.
He's good for the show. Don Stewart is good for the show. Michael, if independent artists like Don Stewart want to send in their music and we'll play it, how do they go about it?
Send us your music by emailing it to jingles@TonyKornheiserShow.com.
Plays in Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd had a tough week. He lost all 4 NFL games.
Yeah.
He won with Miami. Miami covered. He has won consistently with Miami, but Miami is off the board now, and the pros still remain. What were your thoughts about what happened as you watched it?
The Miami game, or the week of NFL.
No, the Miami. Well, let me just read this first. This week's picks with Chuck Todd and Reginald the Monkey are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Well, let's start with the Miami game because you were invested in that.
I was there. I went to it. It was, and that's it. This is my 5th. Here's some. I've attended 5 national title games that Miami's been involved in.
Wow.
In purpose, and my record is 3-2. Obviously, the last 2 that I've attended, they've lost. The infamous Fiesta Bowl pass interference call, and then this last one. Look, Miami had every chance. They could have made one more play and made one less mistake, right? I mean, I thought that Miami had one of the best teams, if not probably the best collection of defensive and offensive lines in the country, which I felt that way from the entire season, and that usually gets you pretty far, and it almost did. And we'll look back at this game in 5 years, and I promise you there'll be more NFL talent on the Miami roster than there is on the Indiana roster.
Sure.
But, I'm all in on the Mendoza kid.
I mean, he. There's a reason. I thought Carson Beck played pretty well. The problem for Carson Beck is Fernando Mendoza played better.
Fernando Mendoza justified everything that was said about him. He did.
100%.
He did. I mean, and they cut his lip early. They went after him early. I mean, I thought that should have been a penalty. I really did.
I thought
off the ball.
You know, when you're in person, right? All the penalties I was whining about were all on the defensive backfield. I didn't see where my seats were.
Right.
I wasn't in Saliza seats. You know, it was a pretty good seat. I wasn't in Saliza seats. I couldn't see the hit on the quarterback. But that is what happened in the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
You know, it was sort of the old Mike Tyson. You know, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face.
Right.
And we punched quarterbacks in the face, and we see what can they do. This guy said, "Okay, let's go," and he did it. And by the way, if you're keeping track, the Cuban Power Index in Miami, Fernando Mendoza came in at number 1. You know, Marco Rubio was number 2, thanks to what's happened in Venezuela. Poor old Mario Cristobal was number 3, and I think the order hadn't changed. I think Mendoza is probably easily now the most popular Cuban in Miami.
I don't know if this matters to him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's had so much success that I don't know. But it matters to somebody like Tom Brady that he was picked in the 7th round. Maybe it matters to Mendoza that he was a high school player in Miami and he was not recruited by Miami. Maybe it does.
It seemed to fuel him because he keeps bringing it up.
Yeah.
You know, he does. He keeps bringing it up. But it wasn't just Miami. I mean, it was only Yale.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Only Yale. And then Cal comes in. By the way, the guy graduated early from Cal.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
He didn't graduate early from some other, you know, no offense to these other schools, but Cal, okay? You know, one of the public Ivies. This guy's also got a pretty big brain on that shoulder of his. So the way that you have to play quarterback in the NFL, can you take a punch? He did. And are you smarter than the average bear? He is. I'm not going to I'm not overlooking him. I'm all in.
For me, he's someone I would root for at this point when he gets to the NFL.
Sort of like, you know, he's got this Tebow-like following now, right?
Oh, yeah? I don't know that.
The difference between him and Tebow is that he looks like he can play an NFL quarterback position, right? Tebow was never really a traditional quarterback.
No.
Right? He should have gone the Taysom Hill route. I think he might have had a more successful career, but I don't think he wanted that.
No, Tebow's a big, strong kid who wasn't a great passer, but somebody you wanted on your team. He tried to make a comeback as a tight end one year.
Yeah.
You know, and had he added, but Tebow's career was fabulous, just fabulous, just fabulous. All right, let's get to games this week, and point spreads, certainly in the New England-Denver game, point spreads are a big deal because you don't know what you're going to get from the quarterback. Jarrett Stidham, you just don't know. He hasn't played in years. Sean Payton knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's got a really good defense. Maybe he thinks he can make this game, 7-6. I don't know. New England is favored on the road by 5.5 points over Denver, which would never happen, if Bo Nix was there. Denver would have been favored. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, it turns out Bo Nix is basically worth a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying, right? That Bo Nix is worth a touchdown. But I keep coming back. The Bills had to turn the ball over 5 times, and Denver still needed overtime?
Yes.
So,
and if you award that catch to the Bills that some of us thought was a catch, the game goes the other way.
Did you think it's a catch? I missed it.
I thought it was a catch.
Well, when did you stop? When do you stop the replay?
I understand we had Dan Graziano on the other day who explained what he'd been told from referees as to why it wasn't a catch. It's just in the moment when he's got the ball, he goes down. I think it's a quick whistle and you say he's down. It's not like he coughed the ball up. The other guy simply took the ball away. So anyway, you thought it was a fair interception.
I don't know how you could have you couldn't call it incomplete because the ball didn't touch the ground.
No.
I just don't. It never looked like the offensive guy ever had control of the ball.
Okay.
In fairness, now what I don't understand is why they didn't look at it longer. right? At least make the fans think you were debating it.
You care.
I mean, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm like, what do you mean we're not even looking at it? Like, are you kidding me? And, anyway, my point with the Broncos is I don't regret. I'd have made that Josh Allen pick every single time,
right,
even after watching that game.
Right.
They don't turn the ball over 5 times in every game they play, and they still needed that. So I'm not sure. Boy, it just feels like whatever team in the AFC, we're going the old days, they're just going to get slaughtered by whatever NFC team comes out. You have to go with the Patriots. I love the Jarrett Stidham story. That would be fun, right? A backup quarterback.
Sure.
Hasn't thrown a pass in
Nick
2
Foles.
years.
It's the Nick Foles story.
Leads them to the Super Bowl, right? We've gone through this. Jeff Hostetler, Nick Foles. I mean, it's if I'm in your old shoes, right? If you're the sports columnist, I know the outcome you want.
Sure,
right?
Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl.
100%.
But you got to take the Patriots here. He'll figure out. This isn't, the more interesting bet to make is just betting on a low-scoring game, doing the under.
Yeah.
And as you know, I'm an under guy all the time.
All the time. Toilet paper as well.
Never. Exactly.
Carville went under on the Indiana-Miami game. Under.
By nose. It was 47.5, right?
And it was 48 total. Oh, 48 total.
Yeah, and boy, nobody wanted that interception more than him.
Yeah,
By the way, very quickly on that game, Cignetti almost mismanaged that game.
Yes.
So he goes for it on 4th down twice earlier, but had a chance to end the game to go for it on 4th down and kicks the field goal. And I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe he gave Miami a chance to have the ball in that moment. Which also, which probably would have meant we'd have had overtime. But anyway, I'm sorry.
That was a better game than I thought, I have to say. I didn't think Miami would be that close. I mean, and I was pretty confident watching the first half that they couldn't score. They couldn't score.
Well, I blame this a little bit, no offense to you or anything. I blame this on this perception that if you beat Alabama and you beat these teams that we preseason think are great, you just assume they were. I still believe this. Indiana was a great team, but Alabama and Oregon were not near Miami, and it always bothered me. Miami got penalized simply because they were in the ACC. That's ultimately why they were an artificial underdog throughout the season.
They wouldn't have been in the tournament if Virginia had beaten Duke. They would not have been in. Would not have been in. All right.
And the third best team in the country might be Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Who didn't even get a chance.
Didn't get a chance. Rams are at Seattle. They have split this year. The total point differential was 3 points. One team won by 2, one team won by 1. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
They are, I think I'm comfortable saying they're the 2 best teams in the NFC. I mean, all year long, their records are the best. Seattle is home. Seattle has more of a question mark at quarterback than the Rams do, but Seattle has looked great in the last few weeks. Will you take the Rams plus 2.5 or take Seattle?
I'm tired of Seattle teaching me a lesson. I have been doubters on Seattle. I've been a doubter on Darnold. And when in doubt, if you think 2 teams are even in the playoffs, who's got the better defense? Give me Seattle.
Seattle.
It's
Seattle.
Yeah. But this feels like the Super Bowl, right? Winner's gonna. Look at what's coming. I don't think we're sure how good the Patriots are. Although they're young and they may, but they've sort of caught a break here, right? In each of their, I would argue,
100%.
They had easy schedule and even their playoff schedule, and now they get a backup quarterback against a 1 seed no one believes in. Anyway, so this Seattle-LA feels, but I'll admit, the biggest bet regret I have is San Francisco last week.
Yeah.
And just not, I don't know how many times Seattle has to teach us that their defense is just that good.
So there is a great statistic that I used the other day given to me by Matt Kelleher that Kyle Shanahan has coached 163 games for the San Francisco 49ers. In only 4 of those games was his team held under 7 points, twice in 3 weeks by Seattle. Twice in 3 weeks. It's a lot of
One
games.
could argue that Seattle's hiring that head coach
Pretty
is
smart.
what led to the demise of John Harbaugh in Baltimore.
Yeah, because he brought defense with him. I mean, the ability to teach defense. Their defense is wonderful. McDonald is, he's done great. All right, we wish you all the luck in the world. We'll talk to you next week. Or the week
I don't
after.
even know if it's 500 even possible.
You're 72 and 71. You're over.
Oh,
But you
I
had a
still
bad.
one
You
game
were 1
off.
and 4. You can't catch Jeff Ma. You can't.
Well, he needed a win. He hasn't had a win in a couple years, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Jeff Ma's, he's about 9 games over, and he's done pretty well.
Yeah.
He wasn't Carville
Well,
last year, but nobody.
Carver was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was absurd.
Well, and Ma's got to remember, Carville's always got the 12-star special coming.
And he's also got his own spreads. He's also got his own spreads. It is not going to surprise me if I say, wow, you went under 47 and a half, and you just had 48. No, it wasn't 48. No, 48 and a half. Oh, okay. All right, thank you, Chuck.
Bye, guys.
And if we gave you Chuck Todd alone, we were giving you all you need. But we give you a monkey.
See the monkey scritch, scratching, watching his iPad, smoking and laughing. Hanging out with Bud Grant, tapping on his purple attache. Nigel's going to the zoo. Reginald's got the fikes.
How can people hate this? I don't understand.
Sometimes he throws his poo when he's had too much Johnny Walker Blue.
It's beautiful.
Virginia Coalition. It's really good. Yes.
Great to just watch the snow pile up outside.
It's beautiful.
Exactly.
Reginald had a great week. Reginald was 4-1. He's 27 and 35. He cannot get to 500, but
But he's finishing well.
yes, that's what matters.
Yes.
That's what matters for
He's a
next
playoff
year.
chimp.
That's what matters.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went down to the National Zoo to see Reginald, and it was a very busy scene, as it often is when I go down to see him in his flat. He was busy meeting with city officials as the city gets ready for this big winter storm headed towards D.C. As you know, his company, Plowchimp, has all
Plowchimp?
Yes.
No.
Has all the contracts with the city.
Plow King?
Well, that's one of his competitors,
Yep.
but they think they can do a better job, and they've got the contracts to prove it. Of course, this is a business he formed years ago with 3 great friends, an orangutan named Wheezy, apparently he's a big smoker, a lemur named Tiberius, and former Major League reliever Al Hrabosky.
Okay.
So,
sure.
That's the team.
Yeah.
And they're going to get the streets clean. Anybody who's worried about it, Plowchimp's on the job.
So what is he like?
So the first match we gave him was on the Pats, giving 5.5 on the road at Denver. And Reginald showed me a very old photograph of him stomping on grapes. I guess this is in his vineyard in Tuscany, making wine, joined by Robert Parrish, Bill Spaceman Lee, and Victor Kayam.
So he wants New England.
Yes,
He
will
wants
take New England. Yeah, he agrees with Chuck on that one.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think you can really take Denver. It's difficult, even with the points.
I don't know.
The next one we gave him was obviously Rams getting 2.5 at Seattle. And Reginald showed me an old photograph of him competing in the Paris to Dakar Rally, one of his favorite events, alongside Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, Bill Russell, and Bronce.
The entire infield.
Yeah, well, he wanted to go with
Dodger infield.
he wanted to go with a shorter group, but a smaller group, but you can't break up that infield. So it's all for you guys. Come
They
along.
are a shorter group. They're all about 5'10" and down. No, they're great. They were great. So he'll take 2 visiting teams.
Yes.
All right. This week's picks with Chuck Todd and Reginald the Monkey have been brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. We will come back with email and jingle. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
If you think that's good, remember that Ian Warrington is also an emergency room doctor.
Right.
To medical school grad.
And playing every single instrument in that. Yeah.
You want to do the Bethesda Bagel ad for us? Please?
Yes, Bethesda Bagels. We love them. You will as well. Just go to BethesdaBagels.com, forward a location in the D.C. area nearest you, then pop on in, and you'll be thrilled.
Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say my dog Sam eats purple flowers. We ain't got much, but we got it's ours. We did snow and rain in the bright sunshine. Dragon Line. It's Tommy James and the Shondells. I like that song.
That's
Always
a good
liked that song.
That's
Thanks to our guests today, Michael Wilbon, Chuck Todd, and the great Kevin Sheehan. Thanks as well to today's sponsors. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Odyssey. If you get the show through Apple, please leave us a review. I want to send my thanks and condolences to Ricky Erb in Barnegat, New Jersey, for a lovely email.
Yes.
I appreciate that. We have an email from Mark Corriere, or Corriere in Ellicott City, Maryland, saying that Brian Polian is about to be named as the head coach at John Carroll, which is where he went to school and which is the cradle of coaches.
That's fantastic
So
news.
that's great. We're happy.
Congratulations,
He was a head coach at Nevada, and he worked for a long time for Brian Kelly.
Yeah,
We're happy with that. Happy with that. And my thanks in going in the special pile to John Lyle. I won't say any more than that on the air, but thank you very much.
The smile on your face.
Oh, yes. Very much to John Lyle.
Yes.
All right, so here we go. This one is a long one from Jonathan. Jonathan in Berkeley, and he goes, "Can Cal be the next Indiana, please?" Well, you had the guy.
Yeah.
You had the guy.
did.
My father is 92 years old, forged in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Go Pistons. Educated at Indiana University in the mid-1950s after a stint in the Army, and possessed of a sporting soul long conditioned to disappointment. When it comes to Indiana football, he was born into futility, a competitive wasteland, so barren it felt not merely cyclical but eternal. As a younger soul still looking to my father for sporting guidance, my most indelible memory was watching this otherwise measured man erupt into something approaching religious ecstasy when Keith Smart hit the shot to win the 1987 national championship. It was the last time I saw him leap vertically without prior consultation with his knees, and one of the last times I saw him proudly drape himself in Hoosier crimson. Time, as it tends to do, has taken some of the spring from his step. These days he no longer rises with any modicum of spontaneity, no matter the circumstance. But last night, as Indiana claimed the football national championship, a sentence I never expected to write, let alone believe, we watched together. My older brother and I, along with our children, did the jumping and the hugging on his behalf. He did the smiling, the head shaking, and the occasional plea for an explanation as to why the refs threw the flag, exhibiting the quiet disbelief of a man who had waited his entire life for a thing he had long since stopped expecting. It was every bit as sweet as Indiana's basketball glory days, perhaps sweeter for the waiting. I am unspeakably grateful that my father lived long enough to see this day, to have futility finally yield to joy. Thanks for a great show. Go Hoosiers. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely?
Yes.
From
really
Steve
is.
the Sycophant. Dear Toby, to update a comment I made last week, the sports event of all time has occurred. Indiana is number 1 in college football, and Nebraska is number 7 in basketball. The world is coming to an end. From Andrew in L.A., who writes, Admiral, I couldn't help but think of the final interception happened in last night's championship game at the end of Damn Yankees, and I would have been surprised if Kirk Cignetti had run off the field, never to be seen again. You played that role. You know how it
Admiral
goes.
Joe, right?
Yeah.
Leslie Thomas, Hillsborough, North Carolina. You mentioned Snoqualmie the other day, and I sat up. My dad was born in Snoqualmie. It's a town. I don't know it. Snoqualmie. And was a member of the class of 1952 of the United States Naval Academy, along with his classmates Jim Stafford, Jim Lovell, Don Isley, and Edward Givens, all astronauts. Many thanks for letting me join in. From Travis in Austin. I don't know any astronauts. I thought you'd like to know. I don't either. Warren Francis in Effort, Pennsylvania. Me and my wife booked a meet and greet with an astronaut at Kennedy Space Center for our grandsons. Our younger grandson was totally expecting an astronaut in training or a plebe. In walks Norm Thagard, one of the most, I hope I pronounce that correctly, Thagard, one of the most decorated astronauts. He couldn't have been more down to earth. We then proceeded to pick up our grandson's jaw off the floor. Alex Lau, New York City. Does every listener to the show, besides me, know an astronaut? I must be running with the wrong crowd. Then again, I was always more of a science for English major type than the AP physics type. I guess tell every astronaut to eat it for me by making me look bad for not having introduced themselves to me. I never met one. From Jason Bullitt, Saratoga County, New York, Chuck and Roxy, 31. Dear Captain Potato Farmer, since the newest trend in the mailbag these days is run-ins with astronauts, I would like to up the ante and recall when 2 Russian cosmonauts, not astronauts, spoke at our high school. During my sophomore year at Saratoga Springs High School, 2 Russians named Evgeny Krunov and Vasily Yelesiev visited us and fielded questions from the audience. Both cosmonauts participated in the Soyuz 5 mission, the first wherein two spacecrafts were docked together and each ship's crew went into the other. Wow. The other craft in question being a Soyuz 4. That's amazing.
That is incredible.
That's just amazing. From Kenny Smith, formerly from Front Royal, now in Colorado Springs. Not sure if you're still playing Have You Met the Astronaut game. We have to stop playing this game. But I've met two. Yeah. The most recent astronaut I know is Scott Kid Poteet, who was part of the first all-civilian human spaceflight mission to Polaris Dawn. Scott and I flew F-16s together in the United States Air Force. Scott is an Air Force Weapons School graduate, think Top Gun, as well as a former Thunderbird pilot. Simply stated, Scott is one of the finest humans I've ever known. The second astronaut that I've met is none other than Buzz Aldrin. Yeah, that Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon. I was fortunate to meet him when stationed in Korea in 2007, while U.S. Forces Korea was celebrating the 60th anniversary of the U.S. Air Force. The command decided to fly out a bunch of U.S. Air Force Korean warfighter pilot veterans, and I was one of the lead coordinators, along with Buzz. I should say Colonel Aldrin. Of note, he's since been promoted to honorary brigadier general. We had 8 other Korean warfighter pilots, to include 3 Korean War aces. We spent more time talking about fighter pilot things than his time as an astronaut. And nonetheless, our team and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
That's great.
Colonel Mike from North Hero, Vermont, Mike Colburn. I realize I'm late to the astronaut game, but just in case you're still accepting entries, one of the most cherished summer traditions in D.C. is the Friday evening parade ceremony that happens weekly at the Marine Barracks 8th and I, the oldest post in the Marine Corps. It's an event built around a traditional military pass and review and features the ceremonial musical elements of the barracks, including the celebrated silent drill platoon. While the Marine Band is an element of these programs, we're hardly the stars of the show. So I was somewhat surprised to learn that John Glenn, who was the guest of honor at one of these parades in the early 2000s, had requested to meet with Marine Band leadership before the event. It turned out Senator Glenn, who served in the Marine Corps before he became an astronaut, had a unique gift for us, a Marine Band CD he brought with him and listened to on his space shuttle mission in 1998. He told us he knew we had plenty of Marine Band recordings, but suspected we didn't have any that had circled the Earth in orbit.
By the way, do you know who John Glenn's wingman was when he flew combat missions in Korea?
Ted Williams?
Ted Williams.
Yeah, I'd heard about that. Charlie Burt, Springfield, Virginia. I have a twist on the astronaut game. I haven't just met one. I've taught one. 25 years ago, Andre Douglas was a freshman in the high school band I directed in Chesapeake, Virginia. He's now an American systems engineer, Coast Guard Reserve officer, and a NASA astronaut, currently serving as a backup crew member for the upcoming Artemis II mission. You can only imagine how incredibly proud of him we all are, and how hopeful we are he'll get to space soon. I'm suggesting he have RFK Jr. slip a case of the measles to one of the current flight crew, a la Kevin Bacon and Gary Sinise. Patrick Vincencio, Laurel, Maryland. When I hear stories about your customer service experience, I'm dumbfounded how there is a lack of customer service these days. I want to go full Sonny on the representatives you deal with. They should sleep with the fishes. How often do you stop payments on your checks? The customer service rep should have looked at your history. Never is the correct answer of stop payments and your relationship with your bank. They could have offered as a courtesy to waive that stop payment fee. As an employee of a credit union, I have reviewed my customer's history, and I would note the account to justify why I waived a fee. It's too bad the customer service reps cannot go that extra mile for their customers. It's not like you went mowed green on them. Do you know who I am? They should have said, Mr. Kornheiser, I see you've been with us for so long. This is your first stop payment. I'll waive that fee for you. I suggest either to go into your local bank or risk calling their customer service and ask for a courtesy waiver of that stop payment fee. If the position has not already been taken, might be the official customer service concierge.
Yes.
Want to pronounce that for me?
Consigliere.
Yeah, I pronounced it wrong. After 40 years, California is about to exhaust its license plate numbering system. 9ZZZ999 will be the last before they transition to a 000 AAA1 format. Where do you rank those among desirable numbers? I recently saw a 9V plate. Lacheserie from the West Coast, Little, where it was 80 degrees last weekend. Blame your ancestors for picking the cold area.
Are you more of an even or odd guy for license plates?
Odd.
Odd, and you like to see it repeats or doubling or triples?
I like to see completely different in order. Like I would like 1357 or something, 2468. Anything like that. It's great. Yeah, odd or even, but odd has just it looks better on.
A little sharper.
Yeah, I guess I don't. But I could go the other way in a heartbeat. Brett Bossy in Lee, New Hampshire. You mentioned in Monday's mailbag that one of your friends is a novelist. Does he dabble in real estate? Does he get you your drinks for free? Is he quick with a joke? Will he light up your smoke, or is there someplace that he'd rather be? It's brilliant. If you're on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.
Who made the egg salad sandwiches?
All right, perfect timing. We'll see you on part 3. That will be on Wednesday.